Hey everybody, Travis Watkins here. Wanted to give small business owners who have taken out the Paycheck Protection Program loan a late-breaking update on Ppp Forgiveness, which is very important. The Senate has Wednesday night gone ahead and approved the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act of 2020. It has some great features that you'll be interested in as it relates to Ppp Forgiveness. So without further ado, here's some of the great features. Okay, the first big feature is they have now changed the 8-week covered period to now 24 weeks to spend your PPP loan amount on payroll, utilities, mortgage interest, and rent. That's a huge deal. This is in response to the fact that a lot of employees were not returning back to work because they were getting an extra $600 per week in federal unemployment. So now they've moved it from 8 to 24 weeks. The next big issue is they have now moved the 1 year at 1% loan term to now 5 years at 1%. So if something is unforgiven there, you have a much longer period to pay this back. The next big feature of the PPP Flexibility Act of 2020 is they've moved the floor of 75% of your loan must be spent on payroll. They have moved that down now to 60%. So you, in theory, have more money to spend on non-payroll expenses such as rent, utility, mortgage interest. The next big feature of PPP Flexibility Act of 2020 is, you'll recall from the last iteration of this law, you would experience some reduction in your forgiveness if you reduce headcount and if you reduce the wages of any employee. They were going to give you, under the old act, they were going to give you until June the 30th to restore headcount and wage levels to February 15th, 2020 levels. Now they're going to give you until December the 31st of 2020 to restore your headcount and your wage levels on your employees back to that February 15, 2020 rate. And perhaps the biggest, best change that has occurred now with the amendment to the act is they have changed the loan payback deferment period from 6 months until the date that the bank makes a determination on your forgiveness request. So in other words, under the old act, you had a full 6 months to not make any payments from the time that the loan was funded. Now you have a full deferment period until the bank takes its full time to determine whether or not your loan is forgivable or partially forgivable. That's a huge development. If you have yet to take the PPP loan, it's now clear that the terms are much better and the terms of forgiveness have gotten remarkably better than earlier versions of this act. So there's still like $135 billion still available for PPP loans. Everything's gotten better on this. So if you haven't taken it, take it now. Also, I'll bring up again the fact that the Economic Impact Disaster Loan is available to small businesses, and we are starting to see some serious funding now coming down on the EIDL loan. It's not a fully forgivable loan like the PPP is, but if your business is still hurting, there's no reason you should not apply for the Economic Impact Disaster Loan. Okay, and finally, this all raises a question of, is the bank going to have to do some sort of an amendment to your promissory note? And I think the answer to that is not 100% clear, but I think it's safe to say that that's going to have to happen, since there have been such drastic changes here with the flexibility provisions of this new act, I think it's safe to say the bank is going to have to work with you to do a new promissory note. To me, it seems like that would be the most appropriate time would be when the bank makes the determination on forgiveness. So if they give you 100% forgiveness, I don't see there'd be any reason to do a whole new promissory note. If there are portions of PPP that remain unforgiven, they would need to amend the promissory note to conform to these new changes. All right.